topic that is very hot tonight. Um, it is private and community or public radiology technology schools, and which one is the best? Why do some close? What is accreditation? What's going on when the state licensing, like New York, recently announced they were not going to offer state licenses to individuals who went to the radiologic technology program at JPU or John Patrick University, which came for so many, it was shocking. I mean, there are students that are in the program right now who are close to finishing, and then you have individuals who have maybe just applied. And this is really, really one of the things that people have been asking me, like, how do you figure out, um, like, what are the laws? So I'm going to go through some of the questions that individuals are asking, especially on my TikTok, because that's where the videos are really, really, really going. Um, People are really, really interested in that. So if you guys have any questions, share this out. I'm going to try to look at the comments, so that way I can be able to see what you all are saying at the same time. Uh, so that's a green screen. You can tell I am not used to doing this vertically, but please ask any questions that you may have. I want to be able to answer them. Okay, so the chat is up there. So I'm going to get some of these questions off of the thing. So one person asked that they're confused. How are people who are JPU or John Patrick University students able to sit for the ARRT, but they won't give them a license in the state of New York? The difference is how in radiologic technology, we go to an accredited program that has an associate's degree at a minimum. So that is the first step. You need to find an accredited program that offers you an associate's degree, a 2-year degree at a minimum. We have bachelor's degree programs. We have master degree programs. I think there are 1 or 2 programs out. You also want to make sure the accrediting agency of the school. Why is that so important? I'm going to talk about that next. So please drop your questions in the comments. I would love to answer them. Any questions you have coming up, I'm just answering off of TikTok now. Once we go to school for radiology technology or medical imaging, I have a medical imaging or medical sciences degree with a concentration in radiologic technology. I personally went to a university program. My husband went to a hospital-based program. Those no longer exist anymore because you have to graduate with an associate's degree as of 2016. So this is when a big shift happened in our profession, is people used to be able to learn our trade in or our profession in the military, just like nurses got taught at hospitals as well. We all learned, and laws started to change. So this is one thing you have to be aware of when you're getting into, especially healthcare professions. Laws can change. So after you get your degree in medical sciences or radiology technology, you then, if you went to a program that follows the ARRT curriculum. Now, people get confused with ARRT. ARRT has nothing to do with radiologic technology. That has to do with MRI. Again, ARRT is the oldest, the gold standard. It's not the only one when it comes to MRI or nuclear medicine, but it is the gold standard. And every modality usually goes and has an ARRT credential because everybody used to have to go to radiology technology first. Now you have other pathways into medical imaging. And what happens is, I'll answer that question, Sleeping Giant, in a second, and definitely thank you for that. So once you get that degree in radiologic sciences, medical sciences, whatever your degree is called, 2-year at a minimum, you then, if you went to an ARRT curriculum accredited school, a curriculum school that was a school that follows that curriculum, you could then sit for your ARRT, which most people, if you want to be a registered radiologic technologist and use our credentials, RTR, you go get your ARRT. Gold standard. There's nothing else to get. Otherwise, you're not a registered radiologic technologist. Okay, so that's clear. Now, that's how you can sit. So JPU and other schools that are not JRCERT accredited, they still follow, some of them follow the ARRT curriculum. Perfectly fine. That's why you will find them on the ARRT's website. I made so much content early on about the differences, and people will argue me down in the comments that you do not have to go to a school that's J certed to get your ARRT. I never said you did. You do not. But this is where it's important, because there are some hospitals that will not hire you and cannot hire you if you don't go to a school that has a JRCERT curriculum and are accredited by the JRCERT. I'm not going to say who they are, but there are some that you cannot get a job in those facilities without going to a school that is accredited by JRCERT. They are the gold standard. They are the oldest that I know of. And that is why and they have a certain standard of education that they require. They make sure schools are abiding ethically in certain facets that other accreditations don't do. I actually am posting on LinkedIn tomorrow a more detailed article, and then you can read in my Substack as well. And I'm going to also post a carousel here on YouTube and then on Instagram that shows how do you choose, why would you choose a program? I just did a story on Instagram. Why would you choose a program that's JRCRT versus anything else? Or why would you not? Or do you care? Most people said they would. Most people, especially in the profession 10 plus years, because you didn't see all of these private schools really popping up a lot until recently. There are so many private schools, and not all of them have a bad reputation. Some do. I'm not saying JPU does. I don't know. I know plenty of people that graduated from their medical dosimetry programs. I know several people, and they are very happy with the program. So, to each his own. You got people that's not going to be happy with anything. So I can't say one way or the other, and I'm not speaking on the program itself. I am talking here about why you need to make a very clear and educated choice before you choose a school just because it works with your lifestyle. It may not work for your lifestyle later on. And that is what has happened over the years. This is not a first time happening for a school. This is not the first time. Schools, I remember I tell the story all the time of a girl I went to school with. She was in radiology technology school with me. She had over $80,000 in debt to an ultrasound school that folded while she was almost ready to graduate. And she had all these federal loans that she had to pay back, even though she couldn't graduate from that school. So this is not anything new. When I tell you the amount of ultrasound schools just in the state I live in over my 20 plus years that have folded when people were close and the state never stepped in, accredited agencies never stepped in, and people got taken really badly. So not saying that's the situation, but I'm just saying, you guys have to hopefully understand this is not an isolated situation. We still don't know what's going on, but how can you protect yourself? Everybody makes a choice. Some people feel it's worth it for them to go to a program that's not JRCERT. You have to just know that down the road, a state can change their laws at any time. And if you live in a licensure state, they can change the rules mid-period while you're in school. That's just how it goes. I mean, the ARRT changed rules that after 2016, you got to have an associate's degree. Programs started folding. Programs started closing. They were scrambling, trying to find universities or community colleges to attach to. Some couldn't, and those programs closed. And then you started seeing more private programs open up. What happens is people's tuition goes up. People, private schools make a lot more money. Not saying, that they don't have good instructors, because I don't think that's the case. A lot of people graduated and are doing well from JPU and many other schools. But the point is, you want to make sure that the accreditation is one that if your school does fold, this is key here. This is key. If something happens, the state comes in and says, we don't want to offer a license to those particular schools right there because they're doing XYZ and we don't agree with it. And as the state, we want to step in. They may give a reason, they may not give a reason. So far, nobody seemed to have come out with an answer for these poor students. But having a JRCRT certification allows you then, because recently, just last year, ARRT curriculum in a JRCERT school, had both, closed. Students were left like, what in the world? But you know what? Those students were able to take everything they had learned and all of their credits to another JRCERT school that had openings. They worked with those schools and they moved those students to those other programs that were JRCERT certified. This is why I say in my content, any content I make, it is not to be trendy. It is not to get a lot of likes. You guys, I put out so much content. I don't have nearly the amount of followers that others do, because for me, doing this content is trying to provide you guys with real information. In my 20 plus years that I've seen happen to other people, it's not right. It's not fair, but it happens. I have seen this. And I just say it's just not pretty. It's not fair to students. It's not fair to people trying to make a living, to get into a profession where they can make a I know what medical imaging degree has done for me and my family. Hands down, people have dogged me out like, oh, you just press buttons, you just did it. I'm gonna tell you, it's the best thing I could have done was listen to my college mentor, counselor, who told me to go into taking x-rays. And I'm so glad I listened to that lady. And I think of all the jobs I've had, and I've worked hard all my life. I'm so grateful for the itty bitty little degree I have and what I do in medical imaging. It has done really well by my family. And I really hurt for these students because this is just really sad, but this is not the first time these things have happened. So when I make content and people come in the comments, when I say choose a JRCERT school if at all possible, and this is why, and then people come in my comments and say, but that's not the only school out there. You do not have to go to, literally, these are the comments people would make. You don't have to go to a JRCERT school. You don't have to. But when you do and your school closes for whatever reason, like those students last year, they all got put into new programs because their stuff was transferable. Things happen, whether your school is JRCERT certified or not. Schools close. Schools run into financial issues. They run into federal issues. The curriculum gets flagged. JRCERT flags and put people on probation, and they close their programs down too. That's what they're there for. But it protects the student because now you're with an accrediting agency that has other schools that will accept you. Does that make sense? I really hope this is helpful because when those students have to choose and maybe they're withdrawing and choose other schools, please take this into consideration. It may take you a couple extra years. It may seem delayed, but it will work out long term when you choose, because any school can close. I promise you, any school, doesn't matter just because it's JRCERT that it's not going to close. All schools close all the time. But the protection is when you are at when you're at another accreditation, it's not going to be that easy, if at all, to transfer, because those private universities, they're private. They want to make their money too. So unless they're a really, really good, loving school, they might see, but it doesn't mean that your stuff is transferable because they may not have the same accreditation that your school has. So hopefully that's helpful. There's a question. I'm new here. After you get your RT, how do you start working on MRI? You can either cross-train, you can pay for a course, you can go to a school and learn, and then you have to take your clinicals. You have to actually do clinicals. In MRI, you have to do so many exams, and then you take an exam for the ARRT. Some people choose to do the ARRT. Again, that's an option for you. If you're already RT, you have your ARRT and R, I would just go ahead and do the MRI ARRT. Makes it a lot easier. Keep your ARRT instead of, unless you want to do the ARRT, but ARRT is only MRI. Most people take ARRT when they going directly into MRI. So hopefully that's helpful. So that's one of the questions that I got from people. The other one is someone said this happened in their program. They all, in their first class in the program they were in, the same thing happened. That's what I'm telling y'all. This is not uncommon, especially with private schools. That's why some people are like, somebody came in my comments and said, they chose not to do a private school because of this reason. They chose to just be on a wait list for 3 years, and they were like, that 3 years went by fast. So, these are all the comments. The other comment I got is some people just saying that, they don't understand because other schools in New York are not JRCERT accredited, just like JPU, but the state of New York is only penalizing JPU students. Again, we don't know what reasoning New York, according to JPU's statement, they're trying, it seems like they were shocked too. So who knows? I guess more information will come out, but I don't think it is an accreditation issue. They know they weren't JRCRT accredited, and the state of New York, I couldn't find anything where it says you have to be JRCRT accredited, and they've let them function as well as other schools function without a JRC. But I made a video showing that so evidently when you finish JPU, you just can't get a license in New York, but you can sit for your ARRT. Most people want to work in their state. I get it. But would you just walk away from it and just say no just because you can't be licensed in your state? To me, you put in so much work. Why not go ahead and get your ARRT and let this thing work out? But get your ART, you can work in other states. Look, Texas is a big state. It's hard to live in Texas and want to drive to Louisiana and work every day. You got people living in Alabama that drive to Atlanta every day for work. You got people that live in Tennessee that drive to Atlanta every day. I mean, sometimes, people live in certain states that are pretty close. And that New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, that whole area is pretty small. I don't know people's circumstances, but just in my thinking, I would say complete your studies. You guys say in the comments what you think, but complete your studies, sit for your ARRT, get your ARRT, because once you got your ARRT, you got it. And then try to figure out the licensing thing with other states. But all of those states up there are licensure states. It's only like 4 or 5 states that don't require a license. That is the other thing before you choose a radiology technology school. Choose one. Because I have a podcast episode where I had a young lady on. She lived in a particular state, Florida, and she didn't go to radiology school, but she went to nuke med. You can go directly into nuclear medicine. In Florida, she came in nuke med tech some kind of way wherever she was working. They gave her some test or whatever, I don't know. But she got licensed to do CT. She wasn't, I don't think ART registered, but she got licensed for Florida. Every state is different, y'all. But then her husband moved to California. California was like, no, ma'am, you are not doing any radiation here unless you go to x-ray school first, which she had not. But Florida had been allowing her to do it because she was a nuke med tech. So nuke med and CT cross. But unless you're a CT tech, you don't usually do CT. So that is very interesting. But she had to give up the CT because you can't do it without going to radiology school. And that's what I say to people. You don't know where you're going to end up in life. I've lived in multiple states. That ARRT takes you. Get your ARRT. And then you may have to figure something out for a year or two to get you some experience out and then do traveling. Be a travel tech, because if New York never works this out, if you stay in New York, you're not going to be able to work. I did a applications job in New York, and I used to have a New York license because I was a travel tech. So I had a license in New York for several years. I don't have it anymore because I don't travel to New York. New York, they have enough techs. They don't have that much work anymore. This was back in the day. But when I did have the license, I let it go. Well, I went to do a clinical applications job there, and one of the radiologists was like, wanted to speed through the exam, and the tech was kind of slow. She's like, can you just scan? And I was like, no, ma'am, I do not have a New York license. New York does not play when it comes to radiologic technology licenses. You better not practice and think you're going to press anybody's buttons with anything radioactive in New York. They do not play when it comes to not having a license. So don't try to go around it, because you will get caught and it'll ruin everything that you work for. So just wait for a second. if it was me in a situation, I would definitely finish the education and get the ARRT and figure it out after that. Because it's not like you can't work in other states as of now. I would just go ahead, get that ARRT, and then try to get it to another state until this works out with New York. So tell me what other comments you got. Thank you so much, Mr. Green Cup said, love your content. I appreciate it. Allows anything says, hey, thank you guys so much for being here. If you're watching this in a replay, please definitely comment. Let me know what questions you have. But yeah, I don't think this is a JRCERT issue with JPU in the state of New York. It's got to be something else. I really don't know. I'm not sure, but you see a lot of stuff on Reddit and everything. But my advice is, we don't know what's going on. No need to fan the fire, fan the flames, whatever they call it. But my point is to help students try to figure and work this thing through, because if you're that close to getting your ART, go ahead and finish the program, get your ART, figure out where you're going to work, get that money going in, get that experience, because the quicker you get the experience, you can get a license of travel. And you know, traveling is what a lot of y'all want to do anyway. So don't look at this as, oh no, I cannot work in New York, so that means I can't be a radiologic technologist. Don't look at it like that. Don't look at it like that. I say look at it, you know, it is what it is. There's nothing right now, because you don't even know what's going on. Figure out, okay, what's my next step? Next step is finish your education. Some of y'all got 2 months left. Finish it out. Get that ARRT license. It's curriculum, excuse me, not license. Get that ARRT certification. Get that under your belt, and then figure out what state you can reasonably live in, drive in, and still see your family. And then get that year experience. You could travel after that. Maybe things will work out by then. Who knows? But let this be I'll repeat myself again, as I did before when people told me I was wrong. I really believe that in any school you choose, not just radiology, understand what comes along with what is the school you choose. Just because it's quick and fast doesn't mean it's going to be right for you in the long term. Laws change. They change. And they change for all of us. All of us were affected when the curriculums changed, ART, when the testing changed, when the having a degree changed. I mean, things change. I mean, physical therapists at once only needed a bachelor's. Now they need almost a PhD, a doctorate. So what about the people that were in school? You know, these are things that just happen. So I would say, if y'all are that close, finish and sit for your ART and then figure it out after that. Do I think the demand of medical dosimeters will increase in the future? Most people thought radiation therapy wouldn't, but radiation therapy is booming. It goes kind of like up and down, but medical dosimetry, imaging itself is growing. I do believe if all the other modalities grow, of course, medical dosimetry will grow as well. So hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, any other questions? Let's see. So this video is only about radiologic technology content. Someone asked about what if they go to New Jersey. So I made a video. If you, excuse me. I'm trying to. Okay, so, sorry, I had to move somebody out. So if you are close to New Jersey, can you, if you're a JPU student, can you get a license in New Jersey? I made a shorts on here on YouTube, check it out. But short answer, you have to apply for an exemption or exception, but it takes a long time, and they said it is a long process, and their requirement for New Jersey is you have to go to an accredited JRCRT school on their New Jersey's approved list. So I'm not sure if any JPU students live in New Jersey, but that's what I read on New Jersey's website when it came to licensing for radiologic technology, that you have to go to a JCERT program, and they have approved schools on their list. Also, if none of those things apply to you, you can file an exception, but it it just seemed like it was going to be complicated, but it's not impossible. So that's an option. But each state has requirements. You may, before you choose a school, I always say, make sure you look at the state's licensing requirement. If you live in a state that don't have a license requirement, when you get your ARRT and start working, you most likely possibly will be grandfathered in later. But if they change the rules while you're still in school, you're going to be held to those rules. That's just how it goes. All of us. I mean, everybody that was in school when the ARRT came around and said, you got to take the exam every 10 years, the CQR every 10 years. Some people are like, oh my goodness, it happened to everybody. So it's definitely something that will happen. But if you're in another state, please just know that it's not easy just to hop over to licensure states. They still have requirements based on where you get your education from. So, that's a booger. But tell me what other questions you have. Do you think Rad Tech is demanding when it comes to the ARRT exam? Do I think Rad Tech is demanding when it comes to the AR exam? Rephrase that question. Do I think radiologic technology is demanding when it comes to the ART exam? Do I think the ART exam is demanding? I don't know what you mean by that, but is it hard maybe? I don't think it's hard because you spend 2 years studying the same stuff over and over, and that stuff is on your exam. So if you are, yeah, I figured that's what you meant. I just want to make sure I answered it right. So if you are actually studying, for me, the Rad Tech program my program prepared us very well for the ARRT exam. We had literally 2 years of mock test. We were doing mock test. And the last year, oh my goodness, we had a mock test sometimes 2-3 times a week. They did not. My teachers were very, very good, I will say. And they all had different abilities. So each teacher taught differently. Because some students aren't gonna really get with a certain teachers. Maybe they job better with this, or chime better with this teacher. I appreciated all of my teachers, what they brought to the table, because they all brought some type of knowledge. Some were stronger at physics, some were stronger at anatomy, some were stronger at patient care. So yeah, that's one thing I appreciated. But I feel like the exam, we were prepared. My school prepared us well, and prepared us overall to be good technologists, solid technologists, to think. And to be able to work out the problems and to work out. Back then we had totally different, we didn't have, the way they do x-ray now. We had actual film developer, that kind of stuff. How do you get this degree? So as I explained early in the beginning, you go to a medical imaging program. You could either choose an associate's, a bachelor's, or a master's degree program. It is full-time, daytime, and that's one of the things people loved about JPU's program. You could have a job and work full-time and still go to this program. And that was one of the things that was helpful to a lot of people, is that working adults were able to go back to school for it. And I guess they did their clinicals. I'm not sure how they did their clinicals, but you did all your classwork online, and then you did your clinicals at a clinical site. I think most people found their own clinical sites. That's how that went. So, which is very helpful for people who are working adults and can't go to an all-day school. My school was Monday through Friday, day shift. I had clinical, sometimes night shift, sometimes second shift. We were busy. And I had to quit work to go to school. I worked for a year driving trucks to save up some money, moved back home with my mom, and I went back to school and toughed it out. And then my husband did the same thing. And I'm just grateful for the profession that I'm in. I really am. How much do you make with it? So every state is going to be different, of course, because California, it costs more to live in California, right? New York is going to be a little more. Texas, I hear, doesn't make that much, but you can always check the salaries, and then it's going to be based on how long you have been doing the profession. If you're new, if you're straight out of school, if you've been doing it for 5-10 years, you're going to probably make a little more than somebody who isn't. If you have multiple certifications, everybody's a little different on that. If you work in a hospital, if you work in an outpatient center, all those things play into it as well. In New York City, do you think the advantages of having a master's is worth it compared to sticking with a bachelor's? I think it depends on what you want to do. I personally have an associate's degree. I have never needed any other higher degree to do anything that I've done. I've been an educator with an associate's degree. I worked at a college level program. I developed the MRI program. This one, most times they want you to have a bachelor's, but I have 20 plus years of experience in multiple things in medical imaging. You also want to make sure that you think about, because I know people, I work with plenty of people in the industry in medical imaging who have doctorates, PhDs, and they're still scanning patients. To me, if I'm going to spend that kind of money on a degree, it needs to make me back what I spent plus. you know what I'm saying? So for me, just having the initials, that's not going to do it for me. I need to be able to make money back that I put into the education, and also be able to see it do something for me. For a personal goal, I have a personal goal of accomplishing certain things. For me, it was getting certifications. My certifications in the profession have made me a lot more money personally. Again, I have an associate's degree, but I have multiple certifications, and I know how to do all of my modalities. I just don't have, you see some people come on and say they're certified or registered in all these things, but there's no way you can do MRI and CT and you learn both of them in 1 year. There's no way. No way. MRI is a beast. CT is a beast. And they have advanced so much now where you're doing reconstructions, you're doing all these other things, advanced studies, cardiac on them, biopsies. We weren't doing all those things back in the day. So, and every machine is different. I work on multiple machines. I've done clinical applications. So I have a plethora of years of experience. So for me, and when I started, the degrees didn't make me money. So that's why I never got the degrees. I did many other things that made me the money. At this point in my life, with the social media content, educating people on that, after I moved into an educator's role, my role kind of changed because I did more clinical applications, which is teaching. I taught at a college level. I do a lot of speaking now, and social media. So I still scan. It's one thing I still do, because for me, staying in the field and scanning helps me to be able to create the right content, to be able to give certain speeches and speak on things, and to be on boards. That's why you don't see me make statements about, and two, people want me to make a statement in favor of students of JPU, or I can't. I can't make I don't know the situation. I don't know the situation, and I don't know what the state of New York is. So that's not for me to say wrong or right. And I do feel terrible for students. Terrible. I tell y'all, this is not the first time we've ever seen something like this. Any of us who have been in this profession for 20 plus years, we've seen this multiple times. This is just to a large scale. This is just bad. I really, really feel bad for the students. Really, really, really feel bad for the students. I have things I want to say, but I don't have the facts. And one thing, if you follow me, I speak on facts. I don't get emotionally charged about things, because you can be sued and you can be wrong, and you can say things because you're emotionally charged and they're not factual, and it could ruin the school's reputation. The school could be totally innocent in this. The state could be totally innocent. The students are definitely totally innocent. So for me, I'm just very careful, because these are people's lives. I'm not here for the clicks. I'm here to actually talk about options. And that was my point of coming and making a video, was to make people aware before they go apply to schools, because so many people, I see people making content about radiology that are big time creators, and it's trendy for them to create content because radiology is trending. And that's not what we want it to trend, yeah, because it brings positive uh, awareness to our profession. But we also want to be, what's the word, responsible in what we do. Because people will make, when you're desperate, you will make desperate decisions, which will put you in a position that many of these students are in. Um, the loans are crazy. Like, it's a lot of money. And that's a lot of money to be in debt when you weren't in debt, or you were planning to get out and make XYZ amount of money and pay it off. And I always said it in my content. Just know that when you choose schools that have a high tuition, what if you flunk out and you don't pass a class? You still got to pay that money back. But you won't have a job as a radiologic technologist. I want people to think about those things. And if the school closes, how easy is it for you to transfer over your coursework? Did you keep records of all your coursework? Do you have copies of your transcripts? I remember graduating from the school I graduated from for radiology, and the I guess the bursar's office or whatever came in to give everybody their bill, how much they owed. It was, yeah, how much they owed. And they came in and they let them know that, it was funny how many people didn't even know how much they owed the school after our program. I was sitting there like, how have y'all been in this program? But they were getting loan money, but nobody had a clue how much they owed. I was like, every semester, I'm making sure that check goes to the books, making sure I only get just enough loan money, just enough money to pay. I didn't want any extra money. I just wanted money to pay my tuition and pay for my books. I had already worked for a year, and I stayed home and I ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But it is very shocking to me how many people don't have copies of how much they owe. Keep up with that. They don't know. They don't have copies of their transcripts. So when the school, say it closes, and you're trying to call them to get your copies, it's too late. They've closed office. They've shut doors. Not saying JPU, I'm just saying other schools. And now you can't get any of your records, or you're fighting trying to get your records. If you're gonna do things, even in a public school, keep copies of, every time you finish that semester, get a copy of your transcripts. Every time. When I was in high school, I did that. I don't know where I got that from. I don't know why I did that. But I'm a record keeper. I'm a kind of person, I keep everything, and I definitely keep my records. But definitely, if you're going to go to any college, but especially private ones, every semester, get a copy of your transcripts. Get a copy of everything, so that way, if anything happens, you don't have to go running chasing behind people to get your transcripts, get your grades, get your records. And then that way you could kind of see what you got credit for. Did I not get credit for this? And then when it's time to transfer, you can just call the school and say, hey, okay, this is my transcripts. And they can kind of tell you over the phone, yeah, we'll take this, we won't take this, or we can't take any of it. Does that make sense? Thank you for the hearts. Okay, this makes sense. I mean, these are the little tips that I found helpful just through life and through seeing people go through things like this. Is number one, keeping a record of your own school stuff. Don't let the college office do it. They're gonna do it for them because they're accountable to their accrediting agency. But they don't have to, you're just a number at some point. They'll try to help you, but if they don't have everything and didn't keep good records, you're gonna be messed up. So try to get all the records you can. If you haven't been getting them the time you've been in school, get them, collect them, all your transcripts. Start reaching out to schools just to kind of see, here are my records. Do you guys take any of this? This was my school's accreditation. And the other thing I ask is, before you guys apply to a radiology school, are you looking on there? If they say we're accredited by this board, are you going to that website and then looking that school up to see if they have any probation, Have they ever been on probation? I made a post about this not long ago. Before y'all accept these schools or interview and get so excited about them taking you, have you done your research on the school? Making sure that they are in good standing, because a school can be on probation, accept you, and they have maybe 4 years to get reevaluated, or they have 2 years to get reevaluated. We'll just say 2 years to get reevaluated. Your program is maybe 2 years, and they've got 1 more year left. That falls right before you graduate. You got 1 year left after their evaluation. What happens if they do not pass that reevaluation? They get shut down, possibly. What happens to you? The program is gone. Do you think they're telling you that they've been on probation? It's public record. You can look. Most people thank you for these hearts, because you know what, whoever's giving me these hearts, y'all know I'm telling the truth. If a school usually accreditation shuts down a school, and I'm talking about accredited agency. I'm not talking about the Department of Health in New York. I'm talking about accredited agencies like JRCRT. When they put somebody on probation, it's on their website. You can go there now and look at all the schools that are on probation and have been on probation. Even if they get reevaluated, you can still see they were on probation before. Yeah, schools get on probation too for certain violations. And if those things are, say, like if you take 20 people into your radiology program and only 2 graduate, and that happens every year, that's a red flag. Something going on in your program. Or if 20 people get in your program, 10 make it to graduation, and 10 go to the ARRT, and only 2 of them pass, the rest of them fell out and can't seem to pass, that's another red flag. You're going to get flagged, and eventually ARRT might have to, because the JRCT looks at all of that and says, wait, looking at your last 5 years and we reevaluate you, your people can't graduate, or they're not graduating with good scores at the ARRT. Let's look at your curriculum. They look at the curriculum, look through people's tests, look through exams. They like, this is questionable here. They may put them on probation. Before you sign up to that private school and pay all that tuition and get excited that you're now going to be an RT and get on TikTok and start telling everybody you're a rad tech student, please go to the accrediting agency's website that school said they're accredited by. Look up past and present to see if they're on probation. And look and see, is that reevaluation going to come in a time period before you graduate? Now, they can make a surprise visit back into the program before that reevaluation. They can pop up. They can pop up even before that, y'all. And if the school hadn't made no changes, this is why it's so important for you to do your own research. People on TikTok, including me, can only tell you but so much. And that's what we know. I don't know everything. But the best thing you can do is read before you make such a life investment. School is an investment. I had somebody come in the comments. I can't find a comment. Her husband is in JPU's program. He already has a job lined up before he's about to graduate, job lined up at a hospital. They can't give him a job because he can't get a New York license as of now. He quit his other job because he was graduating. They bought a house. That's awful. Awful. She's like, what are we going to do? I told you what I do. I tell my husband, finish, get your ARRT, and boo, we might need to get an RV and go live in another state for a second on the weekends. Get you a 312s, and we'll go live wherever that is 312s. We might have to do that. Now, I don't know everybody's circumstance, but I'm just saying. But I definitely would tell him to finish that on that, get your ARRT. You can work anywhere. You can work anywhere. And then get that year experience. You could travel and maybe things will work out by then. But that was one of the, I'm getting so many comments and stories. It's just heartbreaking. But let's see what other comments you guys have. Y'all are having good comments. Thank you for the hearts. Nothing like living with your parents. That was the most humbling thing, moving back home, because I lived in another state on my own. I moved out at 19 on my own. I was doing my thing. I had my own business. I was always an entrepreneur. I had my own business and everything. I was doing great. Got sick, had to go back to school and just never recuperated. Had to move back home and go back to school. Humbling to move back into your old bedroom with your mother. But you know what? I'm so thankful to my mother, because some people don't have a mother or a father or a family or anybody that will let them move back in. I mean, I'm grateful. It was humbling, um, but I am so appreciative that I had a mother in a situation where I could move back home as an adult, and she not asked me to pay anything. She just was like, I just need you to go to school so you can take. My mother always was like, you just need to be able to take care of yourself, which I had been doing, and then had to go back to school. Life happens, right? But oh my goodness, it is so humbling to be a working person and not be able to work and go to school. So I understand why these students love JPU's program. People got to work. People have to work. But you want to better yourself and get an education and get a skill. You don't have to work so hard. I'm gonna tell you, I used to unload trailers for UPS. That was one of my jobs too. Before how old was I? Was I 18? No, I wasn't 18. Yeah, I was 18. I must have just turned 18. That was one of my little part-time jobs. I always had multiple jobs, y'all. And one day I'll make a podcast about that. But yeah, I've always at least had 2 or 3 jobs at one time. I believe in having multiple jobs. I don't know. But anyway, but yeah, so let's see. Do you think you would ever go back to learning a new modality, or are you done? I want to learn nuclear med after my RT program. That's a good question. I actually was going to go to JPU's medical dosimetry program. I applied to it, but when I saw the tuition, I was like, And then, so when I saw the tuition, what turned me off actually was that I had to find my own clinical site. And I know people in that field, and they were like, it's going to be hard for you to find a clinical site. So that turned me off. And for me personally, I was not interested in paying money and not have a clinical site lined up already. That was my hesitation, was asking me to start without having a clinic. I don't know. I'm the kind of have to have all my ducks in a row before I sign on the dotted line. I need to know exactly A, B, C, D. I need to know the whole alphabet in line. L cannot be missing out of the alphabet for me to get to Z. So, because that's a lot of money. And then I knew a couple of people went to their medical dosimetry program. They were very happy with it, but their only thing was they were like, it's going to be hard for you to find a clinical site. And that was a no-go for me. A couple of other programs, they were starting too soon for me for medical dosimetry. That would have been the only one. But what I looked at after a while was, it would not be, at this point in my career, it just wouldn't make sense financially for me to start over in another modality, if that makes sense. The modalities I chose all fall in line with each other, if that makes sense. So I started in radiology, and I went to CT, which is still ionizing radiation based. Then from there, I did mammography, still ionizing radiation based. So they all connect. Most facilities that have x-ray have CT. Most facilities have CT, x-ray have mammography. I never wanted to do ultrasound because I can't tell the baby's head from the butt. I mean, I just can't. It's hard for me. If I did ultrasound, it'd be vascular, but I'm just not. I never was interested in ultrasound or sonography. Just never interested me. But the other thing that interested me was nuclear medicine. So I went to nuclear medicine school. If you follow me, my father had a massive heart attack on the first day. So I never could really get myself back into the school mindset. And by that time, the program closed. I'm telling y'all, programs close. Legit. Sometimes, like, one program for medical dosimetry closed because the lady retired, and she was tired. They couldn't find another instructor to take on teaching it. So they just closed the program. She was tired. So it's not always bad when programs close. They just close. Things, reputable schools do fold and close. It is what it is. So after that, I went to MRI. MRI, CT, crossover, except the only difference is MRI has nothing to do with ionizing radiation, but it has to do with cross-sectional. So I easily was able to transfer over into that because CT is cross-sectional. And wherever I work has all of these modalities. I've done bone densitometry for a while. I did that for a very long time. I worked at a women's center. We had to do everything. So that's how I learned that. What else? yeah, so I mean, and then I've done clinical applications. So that's why I say everything, and I know all the machines. I feel like adding another modality would not, and this is what I encourage students. Don't be so gung-ho to add a lot of modalities, because you make money and you get the experience by knowing very clearly how to operate different machines. Like I can sit on a Philips machine, even different software. I can sit on a GE machine, different software, a Siemens, different software, a Toshiba, a Hitachi, open and closed, MRI, CT, because I know the modality. If you know, one thing I believe that if you know how to scan, if you know how to take an x-ray, it don't matter what machine, you just got to learn the facility's paper process and understand what certain things are. Philips gonna have the next or label them different way under another tab. Siemens gonna have it another way. GE is gonna have it another way. But the thing is, I know what I'm looking for. You have to know what you're looking for and what you're trying to change, the physics of it, the biology of it. You have to understand the principles. That's what I'm trying to say. The principles of the modality. It doesn't matter about the machine. If you understand the principles, you can operate any machine. I promise you that. Because if you know if you know I need to change the phase over sampling, but GE calls it something else, you just got to click around till you figure it out, or you tell whoever knows the machine what you're looking for, and they'll say, "Oh, that's called this, and it's over here." Does that make sense? And that's why I say I personally, at this stage in my career, probably would not add another modality. If I did, even registered radiologist assistant, I thought about doing that, but I I don't at this point in my career, I feel like I know enough, and it's advancing so much within what I know that I don't need to know another modality. Putting letters behind my name is not a big thing to me. They have It's just not a big thing to me. I'm Some people get impressed by letters. I don't, and if it's gonna cost me money and not make me money, I know that sounds crazy, but I hope not. I hope it makes sense. But if it's gonna cost me money and not make me money, it's not valuable to me. It's not worth my time. And it's not just about money. If it's not gonna open up an opportunity for me, another modality right now would not open up another opportunity for me, if that makes sense, going into it. But there are so many other things opening up in the profession. If you've listened to my podcast, I had a young lady on by informatics. Huge opportunity for so many of you. And I don't feel like many people are really talking about it. Radiologist assistant, ARRT, that's a huge opportunity. Instead of leaving the profession to go be a PA school is very, very hard to get in, and it's expensive. A RA program, a radiologist assistant program, might cost you 20 to 30, maybe $40,000. But you will maybe right now have to move to another state. Florida has a lot of jobs. Georgia has some. New York has a lot of jobs. There are Colorado. A lot of states are opening up now with that profession. And I remember 20 plus years ago when they were first talking about it, there were hardly any jobs. But now and more jobs are opening up. I think Tennessee, more jobs are opening up for a radiologist assistant, registered radiologist assistant. So I would love to see more experienced rad techs get into that part of it and grow that part of the profession, because that's a huge opportunity. So many of you are very talented and educated and smart. Many of you could be doctors, could be radiologists, and work very closely with them. And it's just, to me, an opportunity for you to be at that top level, that master level profession in the field. It's just it's up there. People talk a lot about medical dosimetry, but radiologist assistant, registered radiologist assistant is a top master level profession for us. So look at those things like that. Job title of your supervisor, like what's the next step in your career? Yeah, so the next step in my career, that's it. I do a lot of social media content, bringing awareness to the profession. I have a children's book. If you haven't seen that, definitely. I have a children's book. It's called Rachel the Radiographer. Love to know if you've been able to look at that yet. It is the cutest little story. I did a pre-sale and sold out all of those books. So yeah, so I put that up there. Start my little Q&A. I don't know how this goes, y'all. I put it up here, but it's over my face. Okay, well, it's over my face. I don't know what to do. I'm trying something different. So I have a book. That's the next part of my career is really helping the profession to reach younger people. And I use my book to do that. So a lot of the reviews, people have really loved the book. Rachel the Radiographer is the book. It has her own website, Rachel the Radiographer. Here on YouTube, you can actually, I'm going to tag a product here. You can actually check it out here. There we go. I got it in here, so you can check it out here. It's a product on my page here, but that's one of the things that I'm doing is having a series of children's books that are dedicated to our profession. I've already got them in some schools and working to get them in many other places. So if you get you a copy, you can donate it to your children's school. You can donate a copy to your children's daycare. And it all is to help individuals at an early age learn about our profession. Also, a portion of the sales goes to a radiologic technology scholarship. You must be in an ARRT curriculum program, approved curriculum program, but one student will get $500, but multiple students can get it, and it all comes from the sale of the book. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, everybody. You're studying for business administration, my first year of university. Congratulations. Congratulations, and welcome, everybody. Do you know a good rad tech program in Atlanta with no wait list? The best place to look for rad tech programs wherever you are is going to be ARRT.org, and they have a tab for educational programs. You can choose any radiology program, medical imaging program, and you can filter it by your state, your city, and it is the most up-to-date current. So that's what I would say. That's the best way to do it. Now, when it comes to wait lists, it's not going to tell you that. Most people don't have everything they need in order to even get in the program. So what you want to do is apply to the school first. And then once you apply to the school, you can make sure you meet the qualifications of the college first. You have to take an entrance exam. You have to make sure that you are approved by the school to even enter their school before you can think about getting on a wait list. And then you have to follow the protocol for whatever that program is. They have certain things that you have to take. They have to look at your transcripts. You got to mail in transcripts. You got to send stuff. So there's a lot of things you got to do before you worry about a wait list. But I would say apply to all schools, wherever you are. Apply to them all. Is being a radiology technology student a good idea for someone interested in being in the medical field but can't handle the workload? Do you really want me to answer that question? Alyssa. Can't handle the workload, but you think you want. I don't know, Melissa. Alyssa, is that a real question? I'm going to think about that one, Alyssa, because I don't think that's a real question. I don't even think that's a real question, Alyssa. That's funny. The workload of nursing. Yeah, we don't compare ourselves to nursing because it's not a comparison. So some people say, what is the workload compared to nursing? I don't know. I've never been a nurse. I can't tell you. Never been a nurse. I don't know what nurses do. Nurses don't know what we do. There's no comparison as to who works harder or whose workload is harder, or come to x-ray because x-ray is easier than being a nurse. That's not it. So I don't really, when people say, I made a video on that too. When people say, what's easier, being a nurse or a radiology technologist? I don't know. And that's just how I said it. I don't know because I've never been a nurse. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Are there any online MRI schools you recommend? I don't recommend any schools. Hey, Shree. I don't recommend any schools, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I cannot honestly say if the school is good or not. I don't know. I haven't been to that school. So if I get on here and say, that's like me telling y'all to go to this place because they have a good pork chop. I don't really eat pork chop. I can't tell you. I'll be lying through my teeth. So if I tell you something, I have researched that really well. I've used it. Any brands that I do, I either have used or like MTMI. I did a brand deal with them. I actually was one of their students years ago. Years ago. I bought that program years ago and did it. So, you know, I'm going to tell you, I've either used them or I've asked all the questions that make me feel comfortable to be able to tell y'all, hey, use this, use that. That makes sense? So I personally, and there are some things I've taken that you won't ever hear me talk about. Some people courses I've taken, you'll never hear me talk about. And that is because I'm just going to say you'll never hear me talk about it. I'm going to just leave it at that. How many hours are you on your feet in a day? That's a good question, Ann Lacey. I don't have to sit all day, but physically can't be on my feet 5 hours straight either. Okay, so x-ray school, you're going to be on your feet. You're going to be on your feet at x-ray school 5 hours plus. Once you become a technologist, it depends on what you're doing. The OR, everybody usually has to rotate through the OR. Most of the times you have certain people that like OR. Fluoro cases are not 5 hours long, but you are up and down, back and forth. You don't develop film anymore, but you do have to process the film. And you're on depending on, they give air for the barium. You're on your feet for a good little pretty penny at a time. So, but as a student, you're going to be on your feet. Yeah. In CT, you're on your feet a lot more. MRI, not as long, but you sit a lot. It just depends. Interventional, you're on your feet a lot. The cases, you standing up doing cases. Even though you might only do 5 to 10 cases a day, the cases can be, about an hour long or so. Ooh, OKC is at 70, Indiana at 57. Wow, ooh, watching the playoffs. What else? What other mammography? You're not on your feet that long like that. I'm looking into programming. It seems easy to complete. Yeah, easy. I mean, nothing in life is hard, but it just depends. Once you get into it, you'll change your tune. Dallas. Let's see. Started a nuclear medicine program in Houston this August. Super excited. Good. Jamal Tyrese, congratulations. Yeah, Savvy Gardner says radiologist assistants make a good salary after the rad tech experience. People don't talk about that field off. They don't. I got a podcast episode on it. Go check it out, y'all. A couple of rad techs podcasts. It's right here on YouTube. You can check it out. I have my book, Rachel the Radiographer. Grab a copy, y'all. It supports Radiology Technology Student Scholarship, and it supports our profession. Even if you don't have a child, you can donate it to your local library, nieces, nephews. They need to read a book. And this book is so nice. Let me show it to y'all. I'm going to show y'all the print. Of course, I can't show you the inside until you get your own. Voila! This is a hard copy book, y'all. Hard copy. Yes, beautiful. It is autographed as well. I sign each copy. But this is beautifully illustrated. No AI here. No AI. This is all hand illustrated by he's not local, because he did. Thank you for the hearts. But I'm so proud of this book. But Rachel, the radiographer, and all the characters in this book are named after my nieces and nephews. Yes. So excited. And my family members. So all the characters' names are going to be, the children are going to be my nieces and nephews. Rachel is my first niece that I've ever had in my life. She's 37 years old now. But this is like a little me. And then he put glasses on. I didn't even tell him to do that. But it's just so many beautiful illustrations inside this book. And it's well written. It's just not pictures. This is a book that teaches phonics. I put so much effort into making sure this was not a book that was, oh, the big, bad, scary MRI scanner. No. This book tells a story, and there are so many more coming. So get your hands on the first one. This is a series that is going to really, and has already. I got an email today from a head honcho at a big, big company that said, I just did a speech for their company, and they sent me an email and were like, you did not tell me you wrote a book. But they're like, oh my goodness. So many people are so excited about this book and so proud of this book. I know I am. I feel like it does a service to our profession. It is very professional. It is a book that would go on any library. I just went into a big bookstore and they were really pleased with it. So get your own copy, support a fellow technologist. This is one of a kind of a book. There are not any out there like this. It's been since I think the 70s, I was told, that there was a book about radiology like this. There's not a book from it. I'm one of the first technologists who's written a radiology book. So I'm excited about that for our profession. Okay, well, I think those are all the questions. Thank you guys. This has been an hour and 5 minutes. I have never gone live that long. Oh my goodness. But this was an important topic. I just want to make sure that everyone feels supported. Make sure JPU students know that we do love them. We support them. We pray for them and hope this situation works out for the best of everyone and that students are protected and looked after and that everyone is dealt with ethically, professionally, and it's just we don't know what's going on. But I wish that everyone, you can watch the replay if you missed it. But I wish the best for all the students and administrators too, y'all. I mean, I think it seems everybody's caught off guard by this. And if you're an educator, you're attached to your students, they are not sitting back just twiddling their thumbs. The administrators are probably struggling with this as well too, because they know these students personally. They know their struggles. They know why they got into this program. They know how close they are to finishing. This is really personal for a lot of people. So let's just support them. Let's, just wish for the best for everyone, because we don't know the situation. We don't know what all went into this. So it wouldn't be fair to pass judgment on anyone. Just sit back and see what happens and just let the students do their thing. Let the school do what they say that they're going to do. And my purpose of doing this video was to show you that if you can still get your ARRT, even if you can't get your New York license, get the ARRT, finish your education, finish what you started, get the ARRT, and figure out until all this figures itself out where you can work. Because there's got to be another state where you can work. And for those of you that are thinking about going into a radiologic technology program, hear me please. Do your research. Do your due diligence. Do not do your research just on social media. Go to the websites. Go to JRCERT's website. If you have applied to a school, they've accepted you, they're a private or a community college, whatever school. I don't care if they're a community college, a university, HBCU, a private college. Look up their accreditation on the website. Go and see if they have ever been on probation, if they are on probation, if they have a warning, anything, or if they're clear. Look up the schools, y'all, before you put your life investments into your education and it goes up in smoke or left out, or you just left out there in lurch. Do your education. All of you that are thinking about going to radiology school, don't let these trends and the excitement get you all wrapped up. Don't let the money grab you. You can make good money in this profession, but you got to graduate first. You got to graduate first, y'all. So be reasonable about it. Do your due diligence, because you're the one that's going to be on the line for the tuition. You're the one that's going to owe Sally Mae or whoever may, and not be able to have a career or have to take a long route around. It's just not necessary. Look up the accreditation boards that they claim they have. Do your research. See if they've ever had any violations, if there are any in the works, if they're up for reevaluation, if they are on probation. And ask questions. Ask the school, why are you on probation? Why were you on probation? Or have you ever had any violations? Have you ever been disciplined by an accrediting agency? Has the state ever come in and talked to you or warned you of anything? If it's not on record, they might not tell you. Hopefully they will. But if it's not on record, they might not tell you. But if you do your research, you'll know. Lewis Gordon, exactly. That goes for any school. That's just what I said. Any school. I don't care if it's a university, a well-known schools, they get deemed too. But you should know that before you apply. They're not going to voluntarily tell you because they're waiting on that reevaluation and hopefully they're cleaning it up. But remember, don't say, oh, they got 2 years before they get reevaluated. The evaluators can pop in at any time. Even before that 2 years, that you might say, well, I'll be out of there before that 2 years. They can pop in at any time. And if they keep getting complaints, they're going to pop in before the reevaluation. So don't gamble with your life. Don't gamble with your family's life. Every school can close. Even ARRT, JRCRT schools can close. But remember what I said. This is just a recap. Remember what I said. When just last year, a JRCRT school closed that was ARRT certified and everything. They closed and just poof, they was done. But the good thing about that, they were JRCRT certified. So what happened? Those students just got moved to other schools. Other schools accommodated them because the curriculum crossed over. When you don't have a JRCRT certification, other schools that are J, they don't take a lot of your classes, if any. So that's why you're not able to transfer over. Just know fully before you sign up. Just because it makes it easy for you to get a degree or go to school or doesn't mean it's going to let you get a license. States can change their laws at any time. Just know that. How did I know this career was right for me? I didn't when I got into it. That's a good question, Abigail. I didn't. I just knew I could no longer do hair anymore. I had really bad carpal tunnel. I had a respiratory, it was just bothering me too much. And I just knew I was an adult and I needed to be able to take care of myself. I actually started in respiratory therapy first. Oh, yeah, check my other videos out. But yeah, I don't like snot and mucus. So that was a bust. So I went back to my college counselor and said, hey, I don't like snot and mucus. And that's what they deal with all day long. This is a no. Abigail, I know it's so funny when I think about it now, but I'm so grateful to that lady. It was at Forsyth Tech in North Carolina. I don't know her name, but she was my college counselor. And I said, I do not like mucus and snot. And they do that like nasty. I couldn't do it. I could not do that. And she was like, I got something else. What about taking x-rays? And I was like, oh, sounds like fun. Yeah. And that's how I got into radiology. That's all I knew. Like, I didn't know. And then you rotate. I did a shadowing. I had so much fun shadowing. I don't know where. I think I did Moses Cone Hospital. I shadowed. It was in Greensboro. I was living in North Carolina at the time. Yep, it was in Greensboro. I shadowed. Yeah, and Moses Cone. I don't know which one. It's a lot of Moses Cones, but back then it wasn't a lot of Moses Cones hospitals. But this one was in Greensboro. And I shadowed those techs. I loved it. It was so much fun. They took me through everything. I mean, x-ray wise, I got to see everything. Like, they were like really excited and they showed me everything. And then I had to move back to Georgia because I wound up getting sick again from the respiratory issue when I was about to start their program in North Carolina. And so I had to move back to Georgia. And then I had to stay for a year. So I had to wait a year because you have to be a resident of the state unless you want to pay out-of-state tuition. And I couldn't pay out-of-state tuition. And I was still trying to get well. I drove trucks at FedEx for a year, saved my money. I applied to all 4 schools that were available to me at the time that were within driving distance. And only 2 took me. And it was a university, which was super expensive, and a hospital-based program, which was not. I was going to go to the hospital-based. My mother was like, oh, no, you're going to the university. I was like, it's the same schooling. She was like, I don't care. It's not the same name. You're going to a university. So went to a university. Thank my mother. It was a very good decision. I would not have chosen it because I didn't feel I could afford it. Things work out, y'all. Things work out. I'm going to tell you, I was broke my second year. I didn't think I was going to make it through. And then I had a cleaning business. I'm supposed to be getting off of here. I had a cleaning business. Before all of that, I also had a cleaning business. I used to clean apartments, Air Force Base. I told you I have businesses. I've always had multiple businesses. I'm a hustler. But I had a cleaning business. And one of those cleaning kind of jobs, the gentleman's wife worked at the school. And that's how I found out about the grants and stuff. Yeah, things work out. So to you JPU students, any of you on wait list, any of you thinking that you're not going to get into a radiology program, I had lived on my own, gotten really ill, couldn't go to one program. I thought I got knocked out of that one, had to come back here, got a choice of only 2 out of 4, went on to, but my husband wound up going to the school I didn't choose when he went back for radiology school. That school that I didn't choose, he wound up going there. And he was the last class before they closed down. Yep. So it's just funny how things happen, y'all. So I hope that you JPU students, I wish you all the best. I want to stay on top of this to see how this plays out. I hope it does play out good, especially for those students who are almost done. Oh, I'm crushed for y'all, but not crushed yet because anything can happen. And to you all that are looking to apply to schools, I really hope you heard what I was saying in doing your due diligence. Don't just be excited that a school took you. Research that school because you're investing a lot. Education is not cheap. It's your time, it's your money, it's your future. And don't be upset or afraid if maybe it doesn't work out the first time. You didn't get into the program, or you thought you were going to go to JPU and you live in New York. Now you got to figure out something else because this is not going to happen for you. Look at it as possibly a blessing. Something better is around the corner. I would have never thought that I would have been able to go to one of the top university schools as a grown adult. Most people get good grades in high school and get scholarships and go to this school, Emory. It was never on my vision board ever. That was not on my vision board. And not that I'm saying it's better than any other school, but I'm just saying it is a top school. I have a degree from that school in medical sciences that nobody can take from me. I worked for that degree, and I got to go to that school and say that I went to that school. My mother got to say her daughter graduated from a university, and that's something big for some people, especially those that never had an opportunity to go to school. So those JPU students, they have a future. They have goals that they were setting out to do, and don't give up. The right time, the right thing is going to open up. Finish your course on out, get your ARRT, and figure out where your path is going to go from there. Y'all have a good night. Thank y'all for following me. Don't forget to check out this lovely book, Rachel the Radiographer. You can catch it down in my shop right here on YouTube. You can go to radiographer.com. Hope you guys have a great day and good night.